this is the situation. Embark have been using generative AI to generate voice lines in Arc Raiders, and this has resulted in Eurogamer giving the game a pretty negative review, which has impacted the Metacritic score of the game, which was on track to become the highest of pretty much any multiplayer game out there. And for all intents and purposes, I think everybody does agree Arc Raiders is a fantastic extraction shooter game. So what is going on here? Is this the first kind of like high-profile, insidious use of AI within gaming? We need to break this down because I think there's a whole issue of what does the future look like here. And of course, we could throw things in like EA. They have been bought out by the Saudi Arabian government, and they've already said we're going to use a lot of AI. So yeah, and I think Amazon actually got rid of a ton of employees recently in their game studio. I think they essentially closed it down effectively, and then moving over to AI games, which is like, I'm going to start the video with my stance, just so you know where I'm coming from. I think with generative AI, and let's not use generative AI, let's just use AI, right? Because generative implies it's creating a work of, well, like creativity, right? Some artwork, something which you want the human touch on, at least in my opinion. AI, though, itself, I have got no issues using AI in any capacity if it helps do mundane tasks. If developers can use AI, which actually allows them to be more creative, I think I'm all for that. I guess my kind of view on this is think of AI like a calculator. If you've got to do a lot of sums and calculations, you're going to use a calculator. You're not going to do them by hand. That is wasting your time. So if AI is used in that sense, I think that's pretty good. The problem here is we're getting AI to generate the voice lines that, well, voice actors should be generating. And obviously voice actors would generate them in a much better way and give them sort of better inflections and much better delivery. Of course, in this case, the voice actors have actually signed over the rights to have their voice used in the generative models that Embark have got. So let's break this down, right? Because there's a lot going on here. And I think the first place to start is we should probably start with the actual Eurogamer article itself, and we'll go through this. And I also do think as well, when it comes to game reviews, a lot of people out there generally are looking for a review that aligns with what they think of the game or what they think the review should be. And when it goes against that, they get a bit miffed and a bit pissed off. And I can agree with that because Arc Raiders is a really good game, but it does use generative AI. And it's not the only Embark game to use generative AI, by the way, because the Finals does exactly the same thing as well. And you can see why the developers are doing this, because you think of the time it takes to record voice lines. Well, imagine if you could just type in, like whatever your narrative designer wants to do with voice, type it in, boom, your character's speaking the lines, whack it in the game, jobs are good. And the problem is, it's like an actor. It's taking the job off an actor. And I don't think any actor out there in the world would go, yeah, sure, replace me with AI. Or, you know, like I said, in this case, these people have actually agreed to that. And in fact, you know what? You're probably thinking, what I keep going over this. Why am I saying this? Well, let me be very clear here. I have had Raid Shadow Legends said to me, can we use your voice forever? We'll use it to train a voice AI model, and we're going to have you be like one of the English-speaking faces of our ad campaigns. But we're just going to generate what you say. We're not going to run it by you, whatever you say. But we want your permission to use your voice forever. And I was like, I literally do not give a shit how much money you would give me for that. It is never happening, right? You are not using my voice, and you're not just generating whatever you want me to say. So that's my stance on this. I don't like Gen AI when it comes to voices and voice actors. You still need that delivery, I think. Anyway, let's break this down, right? So over here, in fact, before we do this, let's take a look at the Steam charts, because this, again, tells a story, right? So, I mean, right now, there's like 269,000 people playing the game, and there's 384,000 as the peak. We all know Arc Raiders is doing really well, right? It's killing it. It is a fun game. I think what it does really well is it makes extraction shooters approachable to people maybe like me who don't play a ton of Tarkov and like the more hardcore extraction shooters. This is like a casual kind of extraction, and it's got that element of organic gameplay, you know, with all of the proximity VoIP and all of that stuff. It's really cool, right? It is a good game. But anyway, so we can see this, like, you know, there's been a ton of predicted sales of this. It's doing really well. If we go over to the actual website here, you can see they're saying, like, guys, thank you. This was from November the 10th, so this was yesterday if you're watching the video today. And they're just saying, like, hey, look at it, check this out. 700,000 6,000 concurrent users across all platforms. That is absolutely ridiculous numbers. I mean, this is massive. This is it's one of the biggest new IP launches of the year. It's fantastic, right? It's doing really well. Everything says it's doing really, really well. So, you like whatever you want to say about generative AI, it doesn't really matter, does it? Because it's doing really well. I know that the game isn't generated with generative AI, right? Let's get very clear here. It's just the voice lines. But as I say, it's sort of this insidious encroach of where AI is going to go in the future in terms of generating content. Anyway, let's take a look at this review. Let's move back onto it and see what they're saying. So, before we get onto it, actually, I keep saying this, I'm rage baiting all of you guys. This is kind of a funny little statistic. So, this reviewer, gives well, you'll see what it gives. It gives it a two stars there, right? Also reviewed Concord, gave Concord 3. Anyway, let's move on. So, rich PvE combat and an unusually friendly community make Arc Raiders a more approachable extraction shooter than most, but Embark Studios' continued use of AI voice generation is a black mark against its reputation. Arc Raiders is notionally about humans battling to the death over scraps of a blasted Earth ruled by robots, but it's really about risking your virtual life for some apricots to satisfy the world's most demanding chicken. It was on one such poultry-induced shopping expedition when I encountered 3 men cresting a rise over a sand dune bristling with weapons. Outnumbered and exposed, I resigned myself to death, yet the response was not a hail of bullets, but an American mumble of, "Hey dude," that immediately deflated the tension. As the trio trudged by, the rearmost of them jovially added, "We're looking for more lemons." or for lemons. Another fruit craved by our mutual foul master. You basically need lemons and apricots to upgrade the chicken. And the chicken gets, it's like a catch-up mechanic. It gets materials and stuff if you keep getting, it just does it over time, whatever. It's quite a cool mechanic. Anyway, such encounters are at the heart of what has made Arc Raiders the biggest game of the autumn, a cultural phenomenon defined by its phenomenal culture. And in this ruined world where everyone is out to smash and grab whatever they can, you will regularly witness organic displays of de-escalation, armistice, and even jolly cooperation. And you do, right? Arc Raiders is ace for this. I mean, you guys may remember Marathon, if you've watched any footage of Marathon back from the older alphas. That game suffered because it had none of this. There was no organic gameplay at all. You were going in very formulaic and then you go out. It's like, whatever. This game, every single round can be totally different. And you can go in with basically poor equipment and still have a really good time. You've always got a different objective. That's what I really like about Arc Raiders. But yeah, the maps are great. They're really big. The community is fantastic, right? Everyone's playing it right now. I'm sure you are. I mean, I've actually made videos on this a couple of months ago with one of the test phases. I put them on my other channel over on Unit Lost. Don't worry about it. It's not a channel that I upload videos to very often. But back then I was like waxing lyrical about the game. It's a fantastic game. It's going to do really well. And it is. Anyway, it goes on to say, Arc Raiders is not the first game to do this. Displays of human decency have been a feature of survivalist shooters since DayZ. But it is the first in a long time to bring out better angels to the fore. And perhaps the game where such behaviour is most prevalent. Indeed, Arc Raiders has reached the point where friendly players have begun shaming hostile players for having the audacity to play the game as designed, which is remarkable, if misguided. In fact, yeah, so people have been moaning about camping extraction, but I mean, it's a viable tactic. You can do it. It's a PvP game, right? So how did this happen? Some of it may be ascribed to chance, with Embark Studios possibly benefiting from a broader shift towards cooperative games over the last few years. There's also a degree of relativity, with solo players tending to be friendlier than groups, but it is also inescapably part of Arc Raiders' design. Structurally, Arc Raiders is a typical extraction shooter with teams ranging from solos to trios spawning dispersed across large map, aiming to stuff their backpacks with goodies and then escape back to the subterranean city of Separanza. Or Sopranza. I can never say that, but whatever. And using underground elevators, subway stations, air shafts, all that stuff. By the way, that's a really cool mechanic as well. I've got all the way different types of ways of getting out. I see some clips of people putting the barricade up on the button on the lift, so you couldn't activate the lift. And yeah, people putting like remote detonated bombs on the on the button, so people run up trying to extract and then they get blown up. Yeah, I mean it's horrible, but this is what I guess extraction shooters are like. You've got to be aware. Anyway. Those goodies are used to craft and buy superior weapons and equipment before the whole rigmarole begins again. Throughout your half our bouts on the surface, the air thrums with the potential for violence. This is partly due to the presence of other players, but primarily it's from the titular arcs. These robots come in various shapes and sizes, ranging from gun-toting drones to colossal mechanical spiders, but they are all dangerous, and even with the smallest capable of killing raiders in a matter of seconds. They're also quite brilliantly designed. Both individually and collectively, the wasps and hornets that form the bulk of the Ark forces fly in the face of received wisdom that floating enemies are not fun to fight. Their deceptive durability, carefully telegraphed attacks, and tendency to spin out of control when shot make each encounter a thrillingly deadly dance. And there are the rolling balls that lurk inside buildings that act as mobile traps by exploding or spitting flame. These mechanical jump scares make interior exploration fraught with peril, not least because you know that half of them are going to explode. So yeah, I mean, and again, the enemies are really well made in this game. The AI is fantastic, but Ark Raiders was originally designed as a PvE game, and then they realized actually it's actually more fun if you've got the PvP extraction loop with the PvE elements still in the game. So that's kind of what we ended up with. That's, I think, why they're so well designed. I don't think they're AI powered. I don't think they are. Anyway. Indeed, it's the Ark's combined power that makes them so dangerous. Any noise could potentially attract an Ark's attention. Gunfire, activate an extraction point, even a heavy fall can ignite the curiosity of a patrolling wasp. Some Arks are specifically designed to bring additional pain to your doors. Seeing the searchlight of a bucket-shaped snitch turn red always triggers a frantic scramble to bring it down before it can call in reinforcements. The Ark's presence makes taking on other players an additional risk that must be calculated carefully. On top of that, some of the larger Arks, the Leapers, Bastions, and the Almighty Queen, are difficult to take down without extra help. In this manner, cooperation is tactically encouraged, further facilitated by Ark Raiders' most famous voice command, "Don't shoot." This easily deployable icebreaker enables the most voice chat-averse players to defuse an encounter and possibly even strike up an allegiance. But like I said, I will say most of the time in Ark Raiders, if people are hanging around an objective, they do generally work together. Yeah, sometimes you will get someone just runs in and starts shooting, yeah. But most of the time, players are generally quite friendly. Such is the way in Ark Raiders encourages a more affable extraction experience. But I cannot stress enough that this is surprisingly genial atmosphere would be nothing without the bastards. Every player willing to shoot you in the back, to snipe you from afar, to booby trap an extraction point, it is vital to the game's ecosystem as the friendlies. Even if I will curse their names to the end of time, stand my prostate from, okay, this is going too far. we get it. Anything can happen in the game, which is cool. Even when fighting breaks out among players, Ark Raiders remains friendlier than most extraction shooters. Wide-angle view afforded by third person makes it harder for enemies players to ambush you, while the energy shield all Raiders carry often prevents instant kills, generally giving you a chance to respond. Combat broadly feels very deliberate, with slow weapon reloads, health replenishment, no deployable hotkey emphasizing more thoughtful encounters. Ark Raiders is also adept at involving you in this loot cycle, making everything you feel pick valuable part. I mean, I can keep going through this review, but you get the idea, right? This is a positive review. Positive. But we're about to get to, I guess, the negative section of this. We'll scroll down to it because, again, it's just talking about the different loadouts. Okay, so now we get to the sort of meat of this. Now, everything leading up into this is positive, and I think everybody would agree with that, right? This is a 9 out of 10 experience, right? It's a very well-made game. It's like a technical masterpiece in a lot of ways. They've actually done a very clever thing. If you watch the Digital Foundry video on Ark Raiders, it's basically kind of what they've done is that they're running on Unreal Engine 5, and they've stripped the engine back, and instead of offering like Ultra, which is actually Ultra settings with like all the crazy stuff added in, what they've done is they've kind of made medium in other Unreal Engine 5 games the Ultra in this game, if that makes sense. So you can play at the highest settings, although the game is kind of reduced. That doesn't take away from its technical, capability. It is a very good-looking game, a very well-made game, and the performance is fantastic. So people are going to play it. But I think that's kind of a cool thing that they've done. But look at this now, right? This is when we get down to it. So, like Embark's previous shooter, The Finals, Ark Raiders displays considerable design. Also, like The Finals, this design is overshadowed by the specter of AI. Arc Raiders uses machine learning algorithms for its arc animations and text-to-speech based performances generated from the real voices of actors. While I am deeply skeptical of AI use in game development, it is important to emphasize the nuances at play here. For starters, these two techniques are not the same. While Embark has further argued, less convincingly, that TTS is different from generative AI tools like ChatGPT. Certainly, machine learning is not a new technology in video games, experimented with by developers at least since the black and white days. The animation of the arcs, how they adapt to the environments, and react to being shot are based on similar principles to black and white's creature AI. Embark has attempted to create emergent behaviors in its enemies through reinforcement learning, enabling them to both move and react to terrain and player behavior in highly realistic ways. It is an interesting technology, and the effects it produced during matches are undeniably convincing. So, kind of positive with that use. However, the same cannot be said with Embark's generated voice lines, which are aggressively mediocre and a stain on the experience. While speaking characters are mostly limited to traders, though player characters can also vocalize emotes and ping during matches, when you do speak with them, their voices are flat and emotionally blunted, aside from the occasional bizarre inflection that reveals their robotic roots. It's telling that the sole memorable character in Arc Raiders is a rooster incapable of speech. Embark claims that it uses AI voices so the studio can implement ideas quicker, creating new voice lines in hours rather than having to go through a longer process of manual recording and therefore rehiring the actors. But NPC voices are not central to the experience, so I don't think this argument holds water. Even if it did, Arc Raiders' launch has been so successful, Embark could probably hire a team of live in-voice actors and still make a gargantuan amount of profit. What if I say this? Imagine if Overwatch used AI to generate voice lines for its heroes. There would be a nuclear war. Probably by extension as well, Marvel Rivals or any other game with notable characters in. If you clone their voices and generate what they're saying, it would be horrific. You also wouldn't get a very good experience. Okay, so let's move on here, right? At the same time, is Embark's use of AI voices sufficient to compromise the game? This, before I read the rest of this, I think is an interesting point. Is it? Is it sufficient enough? Is it sufficient enough to affect the game? And the cold, hard truth of this is it is not. It literally does not matter to the gamer. Now, it might matter to us. It may matter to you. It may not matter to you. You might not care. I think the reason behind this and why I wanted to cover it is because it is showing you AI slowly encroaching. And once it becomes faster, once it becomes easier, once it becomes cheaper, then we're in a scenario of we're never going to go back to the way it was, even if that way is better. Now, the insidious thing with AI is almost certainly the AI models will get better. They will learn proper inflections. They will have really good voice delivery. And we'll get to a point where we simply won't know what is AI. And this happens quite a lot right now if you're a boomer. I don't know whether you guys have got boomer parents, but I mean, they'll show you stuff and go, this is real. And you're like, that is not real. Are you mad? Are you mad, bro? I say to my mom, and she's... Anyway. Anyway. I mulled over this for a while, and the more I thought about it, the angrier I became. Because yes, using AI voice does compromise Arc Raiders, not just ethically, but artistically. Let's start with the obvious point that Arc Raiders is set in a world where humanity has been driven underground by a race of hostile robots. The contradiction here between Arc Raiders' themes and the manner of its creation is so glaring that it makes me want to scream. You made a game about the tragedy of humans being replaced by robots while replacing humans with robots. It displays a total lack of awareness, or worse, willful ignorance of Arc Raiders in its own semantics. But what really bakes my noodle is that so much of what makes Arc Raiders compelling in the first place derives from human voices. That guy I mentioned at the outset, Mr. Looking for Lemons, it wasn't just that he said what he said that stuck with me. It was the way that he said it. irrepressibly cheerful, endearingly goofy, with all the R's and the L's drawn out. It was as distinctive and as memorable as the way Matt Berry says, New York City. Hey! That was a terrible impression, but just take it. In What We Do in the Shadows. In fact, I tried to think of an actor I could compare it to, but failed because nobody else would have said it like that. Arc Raiders has facilitated millions of similar interactions since launch, but that only makes Embark's use of AI voices more abhorrent. For Arc Raiders to ride the wave of human sociability the way it does, while also being so contemptuous of the thing that makes us social animals in its own workflow, carving up human voices and reassembling them like a digital Victor Frankenstein, demonstrates a lack of artistic integrity that I find impossible to ignore. However smartly designed Arc Raiders is, I cannot recommend it because Embark does not value the thing that makes it special. Yeah, I wonder what the comments are on this. What? We don't care about the comments. We're just going to go in. We need to talk now, right? So I think, like I've been saying throughout this video, this is, you can come at it like I actually think it's a good review. I think that Eurogamer review is a good review. It breaks down the game. The game is great, and then suddenly, by the way, it uses AI. Do I think the author has overreacted? I'm not so sure, because I think when we look at the way this type of AI can be integrated into games, it is taking away that human element, that element of art, that element of design, that element of creativity. I myself do not want AI to take that. I want, like, my view of AI, right? I hate all the shit like image generators and things like that, because I'm like, this is kind of pointless. I don't want this. I don't want data centers being built, right, consuming shitloads of electricity, making my electric bill go up, right, to just generate a picture of a pissing cat. I don't want that, right? What I want them to do is design new drugs that cure cancer. I want them to design drugs that cure, like, ulcerative colitis. That's wrong with me. I want them to advance humanity, not make slop and shit. And that's where we've got this issue here, where my personal approach to game development, or even just AI, let's say AI in the workplace, right, is I want it to assist the creative process, not be part of the creative process in making the final thing. If it's there to reduce load from your staff in a way, like, see, the problem is, right, when I'm saying this, if it's here to reduce load from your staff, Embark have straight said that's why they've done this. It means we can turn stuff around faster. We can get content into the game quicker. So it does meet that criteria. But the very distinctive point I want to make here is I want the AI to be supportive of the staff, to make them more productive, not use the AI to replace what a creative member of staff would do. Whether that's voice lines in the case of this. We've already seen examples. I think there was an Overwatch example from a while ago, although it was a third-party vendor, where they'd used some generative AI and actually generated some Overwatch characters in the background of I think it was a promotional image for a plushie. That cow thing from, I forgot the name of the map. The South Korean map, what's it called? Busan. And that was generative AI, but they dealt with that and removed it, and it was a third-party issue. The question will be, are we going to start seeing games that are just fully generating characters, right? Are you going to load up the latest AAA game potentially from EA? Now the Saudi government own them and have said they're going to use a lot of AI, and things are just AI designed, and hey, maybe you don't care. Maybe you don't even know. You're playing the game and think, oh, this is a well-designed hero. Maybe it was built with AI, that hero, or that level, or that system. This is a debate that it's so difficult to get your head around. You can see I'm all over the place with this. But like I said, I just do want to end it on this point. I do not want AI being used to make creative works. I want it to assist people who are doing the creative works, yeah? So one example of me using AI, when I make a thumbnail for a video, I use the AI tools in Photoshop to remove the background, because it's faster than me going around and selecting the character or whatever I want in the thumbnail. That is just a way better use of time. That isn't creative, but it's a better use of time. If I completely generated the thumbnail with AI and just said, I want an AI thumbnail for Arc Raiders Go, and there's a lot of YouTubers that do this, then that's bad to me. That isn't creative at all. But is it really bad? I don't know. Let me know in the comments below, guys. Also, if you've got this far in the video, I know I haven't been very active recently. I don't know. I've just been riding my bike a lot. I've been just, I don't know. It doesn't see it seems like only yesterday when I made a video, but I mean, I know it's been quite a while. And yeah, we'll see where things go. I mean, I'm quite enjoying. I always keep abreast of all the gaming news and discussion. I've been playing a lot of games recently myself. Obviously, I've been playing Art Raiders. I played a lot of Battlefield 6 as well. Although I did kind of fall off from Battlefield 6 quite quicker than I thought I would, actually, because I thought I'd be playing that more often, because it does scratch that itch of Battlefield Bad Company 2 for me. But I don't know. I've just sort of, I mean, the most recent game, I can tell you right now, the most recent game, not recent game, but the last game I played on Steam, it was Command & Conquer Remastered. Love it. All right, guys, if you enjoyed the video, then like the video, subscribe to the channel, and yeah, make sure you leave a comment below, and I'll catch you lovely lot on the next one. See you soon.